Imagine this. You stand in the doorway, the air heavy with the silence of another evening. She's sitting across the room, scrolling, her eyes lost to a private world you're never invited into. You wonder how you both got here, two people sharing a house, a bed, a life, yet divided by an invisible wall, built not of anger, but of secrets left unspoken. You crave answers. But the questions, the most dangerous ones, tremble at the tip of your tongue, suffocated by habit and the memory of her cold reactions. What does she want that she can't ask for? Is it passion? Freedom? Something primal that neither wedding vows nor trust can ever fully satisfy? You feel the ache, rejection, uncertainty, confusion, all sharp, slicing deeper with each ritual of a love-grown routine. Freud would say this isn't about her, or you, or even the marriage. He'd point to the shadowed corners of your mind where desire, forbidden yet familiar, breeds restlessness and doubt. You start to see her not as your wife, but as a mystery, a mirror reflecting your own inability to communicate, to attract, to truly connect. Tonight, you want to cut through the psychological haze. You want to know why she wants what she can't say. You want to break the cycle of emotional cheating, habits disguised as love, the toxic dance where attraction flips into resentment, trust mutates into control, and understanding is just another word for surrender. Are you ready to see the truth? She is craving, and you are searching. But the answer requires you to go dark, to confront the secrets normal husbands never dare to face. You pace, mind racing. Every relationship starts with curiosity. Who is this person, really? But marriage, over time, becomes the land of assumed knowing. Routine erases the thrill, habit becomes home. You ask her about her day, she gives you the sanitized version. Communication, surface level, sanitized for mutual comfort, never for truth. Beneath, the habits of emotional distance bloom. She craves more, but not what you think. It's not novelty, not just sex, not even just emotional intimacy. She craves permission, to be seen whole, messy, unpredictable, radiant, and ugly, sometimes all at once. Now, Freud's lens slices through your day-to-day thinking. He saw the tension, the war between social expectations and private wishes. He warned about repression, the silent killer of confidence and desire. You, too, repress. You pretend her small moods don't matter. You gloss over that nervous glance in the kitchen, the one that means something more than "pass the salt." That's your first mistake. Real understanding means seeing marriage as a battleground for honest emotions. She is fighting for her right to crave. You are fighting for the right to have your wife want you, openly and fiercely, not out of duty, but out of hunger. But if you don't dismantle those habits, if you don't change your psychology, your relationship will choke on its own tradition. This is where cheating, emotional or otherwise, finds fertile ground. You are brave enough to admit it, you sense the threat. Cheating isn't always physical, it starts in the mind. That is Freud's territory. You both walk the knife edge of temptation every day, not because you're broken, but because you're alive. Desire flares up, then retreats, shamed by years of mutual denial. She didn't marry you to become invisible. But sometimes, by accident, you push her into the shadows. You talk at her, not to her. You solve, you fix, you ignore, thinking that's trust, thinking that's understanding. It's not. It's emotional adultery, loving the safe, familiar version of her, not the real one. Freud called it wish fulfillment. She wishes for something anarchic, a space where she can be herself without apology. She wants to be wanted for her secrets, not just her loyalty. Her anger isn't about a dirty dish, or a late night at work. It's about longing, a hunger for communication that risks everything, even marriage. She craves, you avoid. The result is silence. No confidence in that silence, just a chronic ache. You begin to wonder, is this how spouses slowly die, together, divorced in spirit, yet bound by law? You want to know what she won't say. Accept this: pain is necessary. Frustration is a signal, not a symptom to be medicated away. The pain you feel, her coldness, your doubt, the slow leak of attraction, is the alarm bell that your marriage has reached a crisis of psychology. What do? You stop pretending comfort is enough. Freud taught that beneath every habit is an emotion needing attention. You want her, but you want her safe. She wants risk, the chance to speak desire without shame or penalty. If she says what she wants, she might lose everything, or gain it. You keep asking her, what's wrong? She keeps saying, nothing. Trust erodes like sand under rain. You crave confidence, but you only get confusion. To move forward, you must unlearn your habits of emotional blindness. You must let her crave, speak, even accuse, without retreating to old defense. Understanding is not a passive act, it's violence against ignorance, a war against polite indifference. Are you strong enough to go there? Can you look at your wife, the real one, and ask her what she wants in words you have never dared to use? Don't answer yet. Sit with the pain, let it make you honest. You know what she wants. You've always known, in the raw moments after a fight when her eyes say everything her voice withholds. You deny it because it's risky, but risk is the only thing left if you want a marriage, not just a contract. She craves intimacy soaked in self-exposure. She craves the permission to say the dark, unedited needs, about love, lust, anger, fear, hope, and disappointment. Freud would say this is the ultimate communication. The marriage becomes a container not just for public love, but for private hunger. She needs an invitation to chaos, for her attraction to meet yours in vulnerability, the kind that destroys, then resurrects. But you dodge. You make jokes. You demand neat explanations. So the divorce begins in micro-acts. Trust fades. Emotional cheating doesn't start at a bar or on an app, it starts in the failure to invite her truth. Your strength is found here, asking, listening, facing what you fear. It is violent, it is loving, it is necessary. The next step is yours alone. Are you ready to crack open every habit and let her crave out loud? You notice her late-night scrolling. The soft illumination of her screen and the sharp focus in her eyes. Who is she, lost in thought, miles away from this shared bed? The unspoken desire leaches out, a silent confession lived in digital shadows. You sense it. She hungers for stimulation, something or someone to shatter the monotony, to offer validation, perhaps even danger. This is the soil of emotional cheating, the search for connection outside your sanctuary. Psychology names this displacement, seeking fulfillment where it is least expected and most forbidden. Yet blame breeds nothing but more silence. If you chase her confessions with suspicion and jealousy, you kill her urge to reveal. If you ignore, you turn stone, unyielding. There is a chasm in every relationship, filled with secrets, half-remembered betrayals, and misunderstood gestures. Attraction feeds on secrecy. Adultery, physical or emotional, rarely starts with bodies. It begins when minds grow restless and conversations grow safe. Somewhere, the wife you thought you married became the woman you hardly know. Your habits of passive communication have turned her wildness inward. What is left is a longing for recognition, sharp as the taste of loss. Dare you reach for her, truly reach? It means stepping beyond the known, into the realm Freud mapped out, the unconscious, the truest terrain of desire. You dream of her confession. Of her admitting the swelling ache lodged inside her, the fantasy she's never voiced, the memory that flickers when she lies awake beside you. But instead, you both settle for the marriage script, safe conversations, procedural intimacy, transactional touch. The habits of good spouses. A war-worn truce. No one names it divorce, but the gap is there. She craves to be seen without a filter. To be asked the forbidden questions. You've handed her the right to remain silent. That's not trust, that's abdication. You want her to be bold, but you shudder at her boldness. You want intimacy, but you fear the price. What's the cost of real communication? It's this: you must destroy what you think you know. Freud insisted our deepest needs speak in slips, in jokes, in sudden bursts of anger. You don't need to be a psychoanalyst to recognize the signs. Her shifting focus. The sudden coldness, without cause. The nights she faces away and the mornings she lingers in the shower. All habits, all signals. Attraction is a language, one you must learn or forfeit. You become a student of her silence. You crave what she craves, to be wanted without correction. Your confidence shakes. You second-guess every word, every gesture. You remember the early days, how attraction was effortless, conversation endless, vulnerability intoxicating. What went wrong? Psychology calls it habituation, the brain's way of normalizing even the most electric emotion. What once thrilled now terrifies. Trust, once your fortress, becomes a prison of predictability. You notice the shifts. She dresses up less, or more, for someone unseen. The atmosphere at dinner changes. You sense judgment in the way she says your name, as if she's weighing you against some internal measure you never knew existed. It isn't another man, perhaps, it's her own longing. The forbidden emotion that neither of you invite to the table. You try to joke, to break tension. She laughs, a little too brightly. You both turn to rituals, not romance. But inside, the marriage is burning. Divorce happens long before the paperwork. It's the moment when you stop exploring her mind. It's when communication is replaced by coordination. She wants to be discovered, not managed. You read her silence better than her words. You start to see the power of holding space, of refusing to interrupt her confessions with fixes and rationalizations. She loves fiercely, but boredom is her enemy, monotony, the ultimate affair partner. You see the pattern, trust decays as routine grows. You have a choice. Worship the comfort of old habits and lose her, or risk shattering the illusion of the perfect spouse to build an authentic relationship. Freud's mirror turns psychological pain into self-awareness. You glimpse your own needs, raw and unmet. You realize you want as much as she does. You want her craving, not compliance. To get there, you must interrogate your own hiding places. Why do you dodge conflict? Why do you shrink when she's wild? You deny your vulnerability. That's the root of every failed marriage, the refusal to let another witness the parts of you that terrify even yourself. Attraction, real attraction, springs from mutual courage. From refusing to play it safe. She sees your fear. She demands more. She will not beg for the right to be herself. So you begin the return. You stop using psychology as a shield. You start using your emotions as a guide. You abandon the script where confidence is performed, not felt. Instead, you let her anger touch you. You welcome her uncertainty, her contradiction, her wild swings between love and anger. You see these not as threats, but as invitations to a deeper, messier communication. This is the pivot. Habits become conscious, not automatic. Attraction rekindles, not with grand gestures, but through honest presence. You start to speak as if every sentence could destroy or resurrect your marriage. The risk is real, and that's the point. You want her to bring her cravings to you, not to the waiting shadows. Freud knew that the price of real intimacy is the death of the ego. You lose your comfortable, predictable self, and find something fierce, hungry, electric. You offer her that same freedom. Tell me what you crave, you whisper, not as an interrogation, but as a promise. You will not turn away from her longing. You will become the man who hears what she cannot say. You feel the storm brewing. There's no more pretending, not for you, not for her. Inside the four walls of your home, the stage is set for transformation or disaster. Every emotion, anger, jealousy, tenderness, takes on a heightened meaning, pointing to wounds never named. You sit across from her and let intensity fill the space between you. This is not conversation. This is confession. You start with the forbidden questions. What do you want to feel that you never tell me? She looks at you, terrified and relieved. You witness her pain, the pain of years spent swallowing her desire for fear of rejection, for fear of being too much. It's a risk. You give up control. You let her answer, unedited. In this moment, trust becomes exchange, not safety, but truth. Her pain becomes yours. Her longing, for passion, for unpredictability, for touch that's not rehearsed, for escape from emotional routine, becomes visible. You share your own fears, your own hunger for approval, your own resentment at silent divorces happening in broad daylight. You're both undone, imperfect, alive. Adultery, physical or emotional, was the ghost in the room. But now, honesty is the weapon. You use communication as revolution. She's no longer a stranger. The next night, the tension is different. Not rejection, but anticipation. Each habit is interrogated like a crime. You notice what you say out of fear, what she avoids out of shame. You study your thinking. Freud's method says every slip, every joke, every sudden mood is a data point, a key. You stop asking for reassurance and start asking for revelation. You tell her your fantasies, ones you were raised to hide. And she tells you hers, too dark, too raw, too beautiful for casual conversation. You realize marriage is not about managing one another, but surviving the ride together. She confesses the emotional cheating, yearning for validation from strangers, dreaming of escape, wondering who else sees her. You listen, wounded but awake. You realize you'd rather know her truths than swallow the illusion of comfort. Confidence is rebuilt not on ignorance, but on shared risk. Habits shift. Trust grows, not because you're perfect, but because you choose understanding over control. Every doubt becomes a chance for communication. Every secret becomes a bridge, not a weapon. And for the first time, attraction feels electric again. You see her now, not as the wife you wanted, but the woman who demands to exist. She no longer edits her words around you. She names her cravings, her fears, her need for chaos as loudly as her need for love. You realize relationships thrive not on harmony, but on tension, the energy between two mysteries wrestling with the urge to fuse and remain distinct. Freud's wisdom becomes your compass. You balance between analysis and acceptance, dissecting the habits that poison communication while embracing the unpredictability that fuels desire. You both make mistakes. You say too much, then not enough. But neither of you retreat into the patterns that once guaranteed emotional famine. Your thinking shifts. Every fight, every awkward silence, every moment of misunderstanding is no longer taken as evidence of failure, but as a sign of life. Emotions are not the enemy. They are the source. Attraction deepens on the edge of the unknown. Divorce is no longer an inevitability. It's a choice neither of you wish to make because the marriage has become a crucible for truth, not a prison for habit. Now, you reclaim passion. Not the frantic desperation of early love, but the slow, deliberate seduction of knowing, and being known. Her confidence reignites, wild and unapologetic. You match it. There is strength in your vulnerability, a new type of masculinity shaped not by dominance but by presence. She tests boundaries, not to punish, but to ask, "Are you safe enough for my mess?" You welcome the chaos. Real understanding means answering with your own exposed desire. You admit the allure of adultery, not as threat but as proof that craving does not mean betraying. You talk about emotional cheating in the open. You build a fortress around your shared longing, not out of fear, but out of respect for its power. Habits become conscious choices. Abandon what served only safety. Embrace what brings you to life. Marriage looks different. It's no longer about promises kept, but truths revealed. Communication is not just words, it's the courage to risk everything and win. You stand together in the aftermath. Both changed, both charged. She craves what she could never say, and now, you crave hearing it. Your marriage survived because you faced the wreckage bravely, with Freud's lens lighting up every hidden corner. You abandoned the clichés, the psychological self-sabotage that once masqueraded as normal. Now, every conversation contains danger. Every touch, a question. Confidence comes when you reject neat answers, when you let attraction shapeshift and surprise. She is your muse, your adversary, your mirror. You understand her pain, her need for validation, her hunger for emotional adventure. You remain vigilant. Habits have a way of returning, disguising their poison as comfort. But you refuse divorce by degrees, you refuse to let your relationship die in silence. Because now, you know the secret, what she craves is permission. Your permission to speak, to desire, to exist wildly. And you are the only man who will ever give it. The house is quiet, but the old silence is gone. Something new pulses between you, a knowing, a shared complicity. She walks past you, her movements deliberate, almost dangerous, and you stare, not with hunger alone, but with respect for the depths she's willing to explore. Every marriage is a game of secrets. You were always playing. Now, you're playing openly, no more denying the thrill of psychological risk. You recognize your habits before they trap you. You interrogate your own thinking errors. Are you protecting her, or just yourself? You stop shutting down difficult conversations. You welcome the discomfort. She tells you she wants more than romance, she wants to feel seen at her most untamed. You reveal not just your fantasies but your worries, your self-doubt, your complex emotions tangled up in desire. You learn confidence is not bravado. It's the willingness to stand raw before your spouse, trembling and strong in the same breath. You no longer mistake peace for connection. You sense how early misunderstandings, tiny betrayals, lazy listening, become the slow poison of divorce. You choose to speak openly, letting pain become possibility. Finally, you ask her to teach you about her darkness. She smiles, and you know, you're both free, for the first time. This new communication tastes forbidden. You savor authenticity the way you once savored secrecy. She articulates what she used to conceal, a longing for danger, for wildness, for sexual unpredictability. You respond not with fear, but with devotion. You let her change you, the only way anyone ever knows love, as transformation, not transaction. You see your marriage as a crucible, capable of holding your twin desires for safety and novelty. You abandon the myth that trust is built by avoiding difficult conversations. Instead, trust flourishes every time you risk everything in a single sentence. You challenge the habits that killed attraction, and she matches you, word for word, emotion for emotion. You ask her, what would you risk for joy? She answers, everything except losing myself. And you realize, deep in your bones, that infidelity is never just about sex. It's about disappearing, bit by bit, into the comfort of not being truly known. You reclaim her, and she reclaims herself. Love is now both sanctuary and stage. You perform desire, naked and fearless. You learn to revel in tension. She is not just your wife, she is a whole world, spinning between affection and rebellion, certainty and chaos. You celebrate her right to chase meaning beyond habit, to seek fulfillment that shatters routine. You offer her communication unblurred by defense. You become more than husband and wife, you become accomplices in psychological daring. Marriage grows neon, not beige. You break the rules of family psychology, rewriting them every night. You let mistakes become evidence of growth, not failure. You see your own habits, of emotional retreat, of passive listening, for what they are, small deaths. Freud becomes your silent partner. You consult him at crossroads, choosing exposure over control. You reject the normal marriage myth, stars and honey forever, and instead choose the unpredictable aliveness of two real people. You are no longer haunted by emotional cheating, because every emotion is welcome at the altar of your marriage. She can crave out loud now. You can crave her honesty, her danger, her fire. Together, you taste what was forbidden, truth as appetite. With every sunrise you confront the aftermath of honesty. Pain is still there, but pain is clean now, a solvent, not a saboteur. You watch her move through the day, her confidence undimmed. She is more beautiful for her courage, her willingness to speak the unspeakable. You find yourself craving her mind, not just her body. You fight the urge to retreat into habit. Marriage is not armored against change anymore. The old security is gone, replaced by awareness. You notice every glance, every stray word, every hesitation holds a universe of meaning. You are a vigilant listener, not a passive partner. The difference is radical. You keep refusing resignation. Divorce is not an outcome now, but a warning, a threat you live awake to, never letting your relationship drop into numbness again. You understand cheating not as weakness, but as a hunger for self that went ignored. You offer your trust as invitation, not as prison. This is love, remade by pain and permission. You arrive at the finale. Clarity, sharp as midnight. Your wife craves what she couldn't say, and now you crave it too, the raw honesty, the electric truth, the untamed fire. Marriage became your laboratory, your battlefield, your sanctuary for dangerous emotion and radical longing. You dumped the old scripts, habits, thinking errors, communication dodge, and faced the psychological storms head first. You know now, pain is the door, not the punishment. You dance with misunderstanding as proof you're both alive. Attraction is negotiation, trust is currency. You refuse the slow death of quiet divorce, of emotional cheating, of stonewall habits. You are here to listen deeply, speak violently, love without armor. The transformation is yours to continue, every day. You invite her to crave, to confess, to collide with your deepest fears. Freud's lens showed you, everything forbidden is fuel for intimacy. Let this be the new contract, permission is everything. And now, you give it.